welcome to Looking Up. This is a podcast for Christian women. I'm Kathy Pollard, one of your hosts, and here is Carla Moore, your other host. And this week we're recording on deck 7 of the cruise ship Odyssey of the Seas.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought we would just continue chatting about what we started last week when we shared with you. We had just arrived in Rome and told you a little bit about what we had done. And so now we've seen a few more things since then.
Lots more.
The rest of our group has joined us. For those of you who don't know, John and Carla lead Bible passages tours to Israel, Mediterranean stops that are Bible lands. I'm wording that awkwardly, but so we're on one of those, and this is a long one. It's about
12 nights.
12.
But then if you add Rome in, it's more like 2 weeks in a day or
For
something
us,
like that.
it's about 2.5 weeks. The cruise itself is a 12-night cruise. So the rest of the group has already joined us, and there's 56 total of us in their group. It's been really fun getting to know everybody. If you see us looking around every now and then, it's because we are in the middle of busy cruise ship life. So,
and there's an emergency preparedness drill going on, so people are scurrying around drilling.
Music, there's people walking by, and so we're apologize in advance for all the distractions, but we didn't want to miss a week chatting with you all. So how are you feeling whatever day this is on this cruise?
You know, they have the when you get on the elevator, they have those signs in the floor that tell you what day it is, and those have been super helpful because I've lost track of time. But today is Saturday?
Yes. I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, but at first I thought they were just naming elevators, you know, like each, because I kept getting in on the Sunday elevator.
You thought you were on the same elevator every time?
Yeah, you know, it's so helpful though. You kind of do lose touch with reality.
Yeah.
Lose track of what day it is, what date it is, what time it is, because the time change keeps flip-flopping. And
and in fact, I didn't ever understand exactly what that was about when they told us to change to the ship time, because it was a different time than around us, but they're just trying to get us all messed up and spend money, and I guess that's what they're trying to do.
Yes, and doing a good job of it.
Yeah.
We get free coffee, but yet
well, there's
still
just something
hitting
to
the
be
Starbucks.
said. We are, well, and actually today is a day in port at Crete. We're in Crete, and Kathy and I decided we would stay on the ship and record this podcast and just kind of take a little breather, really, because it's been pretty hectic.
Go.
Yeah, and we may
wonderful.
Get off and walk around the port a little bit, maybe if we want to. I've been here. Have you ever been here? Well, you have to get in a bus and go transfer into town if you want to go anywhere interesting. But there are a few little things around the port. But
it didn't break my heart too much to stay on the ship today, because I learned that the part that Paul would have visited, it's really hard to get to.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's on the other side. So
it's a large place. I didn't realize that either. Here's the thing. When we do these tours, my part is more helping people find the bathroom, helping them find a drink of water or whatever they need. And I sometimes, hate to admit it, but sometimes I zone out on what John's saying or what Neil's saying because I know it's terrible. I really do feel bad about that, because I started, when we were talking about recording today, I was like, okay, we stood there near the was it a temple in Pompeii? I know they said it was never a church building, but anyway, and Neil spoke, and I remember I thought, wow, that's really great, but I don't remember anything that he said.
Well,
don't tell Neil.
We don't have to share their messages with you.
Yeah, well, if you come on the trip, and you can listen, and I'll still help you find the bathroom and a drink of water and all those other things that I'm supposed to do, but...
Yeah, Neil and I are supposed to be helping, and we pretty much just stay at the back of the group and help people that are moving a little bit slower, stragglers, make sure we don't lose any of them. That's been our job.
We won't say that you're at the rear end, right?
You did it.
I did it.
You did it.
Oh, I did it again.
You had to explain.
Well, you can explain, because that's Brian is really...
Yes, we had a guide when we visited
a couple days
Athens.
ago. Yeah, that's right.
Our guide touring Athens and the Acropolis and all that, Brian Ketchum is always in the back with us, and he has a camera. And I keep looking at that screen instead of that one. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He has a camera, and so she's been referring to him. She was referring to him as the official photographer, and then she would say, she kept calling him the rear end, and then. And she would say things like, should I tell?
You have to now.
She would say things like, oh, I see my rear end now. And one time she said, I have lost my rear end.
Oh boy.
So, me being the mature person that I am, never laughed.
Yeah, you're gigging Neil in the ribs, no doubt, every time.
Oh, it was funny.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna refrain from one of the things we laughed about, and we're tired, so again,
tired.
things are funny, but and I am not making fun at all of these accents because I think they're so fun,
They're very fun.
and I love listening to people talk with different accents and different languages, but it seems like the TH sound is difficult in the, I guess it's Greek. The Greeks, well, it was probably in Ephesus too, but the 30,000 people said, we're in this location, and so there are other things that were said too, but I will refrain from going too far into that.
And then instead of V, oh, here comes another announcement from the captain.
Assembly station team and embarkation controllers.
It's a good time for a sip.
Routes. Man your routes. Man your routes.
Man your grouts?
Routes?
Routes, maybe?
I mean, are they working in the shower? Or?
This is going to be a quality episode, I can tell. Very deep subjects.
And then another thing is, instead of making the V sound, they would make the W sound. So they would say, the scenery hasn't changed, just the vehicles.
Okay.
And instead of reservation. What was it?
Reservation.
Reservation.
Yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
okay.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it has been.
But cruise life is pretty glorious.
Yeah, it is.
I feel so special. I feel important. Our waiter at our table loves us.
Yeah, or he pretends to
No,
really
he-
well.
He does love
Okay.
us. And once he only
Ma'am
wants
Kathleen.
us, Ma'am Kathleen. I want to be called that for the rest of my life. And he only wants me to be happy.
Yeah.
And if I don't order an entree, he comes, Kathleen, Ma'am Kathleen.
Ma'am Kathleen.
Tell me, what
What
do you
can I
like
do
to
for
do?
you?
What do you like to eat for supper? I will get it for you.
Yeah.
And so they wait on you hand and foot.
They really
Embarkation
do.
controllers. Embark crew to the survival craft. Embark crew to the survival craft.
Oh.
Embark crew to the survival craft.
Somebody needs the survival craft.
And to all crew, as you are
This is a
making
drill.
your way to
This
your
is only a drill.
survival Craft, you are dismissed from today's operation and today's drill. On this, you are involved with
think it's
the
almost over.
Yeah.
launching and recovery of the starboard side lifeboats.
It is good to know that they do this.
Yes. Very safe.
To all key personnel, you can make your way to the bridge for a debrief. Thank you for your attention.
All right. We
Debrief.
are very sorry for all the interruptions, but we are on a cruise ship.
Yeah. And most of the people are off today. They're on Crete, like we already mentioned. But back to the crew, I feel like they genuinely enjoy their jobs, and I hope they do, because our room steward, his name is Randy, and I think he's from the Philippines. John met him the first night and got all that information, and I wasn't standing there when he did, but he's just the nicest guy and always wants to, bring us a towel or whatever we need. We've been trying to bring him something back from every port we've been into, just a little something, like John brought him some olive oil yesterday, which I thought was not something a little tiny jar of olive oil, but we brought him some macarons on the day we went to Turkey. Anyway,
Wow.
they're just, I'm trying to make you feel bad. Do you feel bad?
I do
Yeah.
feel bad.
No, I really do think that they enjoy their jobs, and the staff in the waiting room, in the dining room, the wait staff in the dining room, they have the best manners to them, and sweet and kind, and like you said, they want to bring you whatever you want to make you happy. So it's easy to see how people get hooked on cruising.
Oh,
And
yes, I had no idea. This is our very first one, and I am all about it. And like you were saying, no matter where you go, whether you're on or off the ship, because there are cruise staff where you're boarding to get back on the ship, and every single one of them, welcome back, welcome home, hope you had a great time.
Yeah.
You know, just so polite,
Yeah.
warm, friendly.
just walking down the hall, anyone you encounter says hello and welcome and good morning and all those things.
Can I do something for you? Yeah, it's wonderful.
It
then
is.
when this is all over,
Where's our buffet?
I mean, you can have room service anytime you want, and they'll bring coffee to your room or whatever you want to your room. And
Yeah. Yep, it is. It's a kind of an addictive life, I'm sure, but we shouldn't get too accustomed to it, I'm sure.
well, early on, we were talking about, I don't think we shared this last week, so I'm going to bring it up, being a little bit stiff from traveling, you know, long flights, and how as you get older, it might take you a little bit longer to stand up, you know, without groaning or moaning or, you know,
I
those.
haven't encountered that yet. I don't know what you're talking
Oh,
about.
you don't know what I'm talking about. Well, you'll get there one
Okay.
day.
Okay.
But were you the one that mentioned Sophia Loren,
Yeah.
or was that somebody else? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had heard that. What did she say?
She was on some program years ago, Oprah Winfrey or something like that, and she was just sitting there and so elegant with her legs crossed, and she was probably in her 70s at the time. And Oprah said, "How do you do it? How do you stay so youthful looking?" And she said, among other things, one of the things was when you get up from a chair, you just get up and go. You don't, push yourself up and groan and make noises. And, every time I get up, I do that. But she said, you just get up. If it hurts, it hurts. You just keep going. And it just gives off the illusion of being youthful, I guess. So
Yeah. So thereafter, we would remind each other.
not
Sophia,
working too well.
Sophia.
Sophia, yeah.
That was a very Sophia.
Uh-huh.
But it's so appropriate because we were in Italy.
Yeah, when she was born
yeah.
in a little town off right there in Naples, but it was not, I can't remember, starts with a P, but real close to Pompeii. But she was born and raised there, so they're very proud of Sophia Loren there.
Yes, and so we have to get up without grunting. And then I shared with you this morning that I heard or saw somewhere that if every day you lay flat on your back on the floor and then rise to standing position without using your hands, if you can do that once a day, every day for the rest of your life, apparently you will be flexible and limber for the rest of your life.
Just think how much people would like to see you do that right now. Maybe not.
You're going off script, Carla.
Unscripted.
Unscripted.
We do promise we will go back to our cabins and try it.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
And,
can
you
guarantee
know,
I can't do it.
If I wasn't in a skirt with people walking around, maybe I would try that.
I'm trying to think how you do that. So you would, I think I could sit up without your hands though. I think I could sit up. I know I could roll over
Yeah.
and maybe get my knees underneath me. I don't know.
I feel like I could roll up to a sitting position pretty easily, but from there, more challenging.
Yeah. Get to the knees. I don't know. Can you use your shoulders, like lean up against something? You can't do that?
I don't know.
Well, we should try
I
it.
have to look up the rules.
I think we should try it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have to do it every day so that we'll be graceful.
Well, I'm beyond being graceful, I think. But anyway.
All right, do you want to share a little bit about what all we've done since the last time we talked? We were still in Rome last time we recorded, so we've been everywhere, man.
We've been everywhere. So we recorded on Thursday night, and then some people had already arrived, but a lot of the rest of the group came in on Friday morning, and everyone was bone tired that had just arrived. But you have to just keep going. That's one of the things we found. If you lay down to take a nap, it's pretty much over for the rest of the day. So if you can just keep yourself going, keep pushing through, you'll feel better the next day. That day is kind of a wash, but so we had a kind of a meet and greet on top. The hotel that we stayed in has a rooftop terrace, and we had a buffet of some pizza and different things, some little Italian sandwiches and salads.
Yeah, lots
That's
of good stuff.
A week ago. It's hard to remember.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, and so
That's a lot of miles ago.
most everyone was there. Part of your Lehman group, they got to go in the Coliseum because they found tickets on their own. So they were pushing it to get back up through the city streets to make it back to the meet and greet. But everyone got there, and it was fun to see everyone and make connections and see that some people kind of knew each other from. Have you heard? There's been several, like I can't remember who it was. Rick and Pam knew from years and years ago. It was Shannon's mom somewhere
Oh, that's
in their
wild.
past. Yeah, small world.
All the crossover connections.
Yeah. So after we had the meet and greet, we went and did kind of a walking tour over the streets of Rome. We went to the Trevi Fountain. We went to the Spanish Steps. We went by the Pantheon that night, but you can't go in anymore. I think I mentioned that last week. You can. You have to buy a ticket, and we didn't have tickets. We did a lot of walking, and so people who had just come in that day, I know it was pretty tough, but no doubt they slept well that night. We sampled gelato that night. That was probably my favorite
Yes,
that
mine
we've had
too.
so far. Yeah,
Lots of 150 flavors
yeah.
to choose from.
I didn't go the whole length of the store. Did you? What'd you end up getting that night?
It was too crowded. I don't even remember. I've had so many gelatos
Yeah.
since then.
Yeah. So that was what we did that day. We started at about 4, and it was dark when we got back to the hotel, and so we didn't really have an official dinner that night. So that was Friday. Saturday we got up. We went. Did we go first to the Vatican Museum? And we did get to skip the line, and we got in fairly quickly, and we weren't there for too long. But it's visiting the Vatican Museum is, you can't stop unless you're by yourself, and even then you're kind of pushed along with the crowd. I've always thought it's kind of like the log ride when at Six
Yeah.
Flags you just get bumped and you're hot and sweaty, and you're real close to people you don't really want to be too close to, and you just can't stop and look at things. But
Yeah.
but we did get to go through the Egyptian artifacts area, which is, I think, my favorite place. The mummies, I mean, they're right there on display. There's actual mummies.
Sarcophagi and all kinds of things.
Yeah, so we spent the morning there at the Vatican. Everyone kind of went on their own for lunch. We had a little area that we went to, and everyone kind of scattered and did their own thing for lunch. And then we went over to the Colosseum area, I'm thinking. And again, we couldn't go inside because of the ticket situation, but we walked around the outside. We saw the Arch of Constantine. Then we went inside the Forum. That's where Rick didn't get to go in because he had a knife in his belt. Rick and Pam Randall are with us, and we both know them from Denver because they live in Littleton, and they've ranched for years. And Rick doesn't go anywhere without a knife, and they just.
Or a cowboy hat and boots.
He had on sneakers that day, though.
Oh.
Yeah, it was. I don't think I'd ever seen him in sneakers before, so he didn't get to go in. He had to wait outside with our guide, Costanza, and I'm sure that was a fun conversation. In fact, I know that he gave her his and Pam's history, and they're just a sweet couple. So we went through the Roman Forum, which is John's current favorite thing right now. He's been doing a lot of reading on it and all of the history that took place there. So after the Forum, what did we do that night? We did 3 things that
Was
day.
that the catacombs?
Yes, we went to the catacombs, and that was our last stop of the day, and that's pretty cool. Did you like that? You
I
hadn't
did.
been there.
I wanted more time in there.
Yeah.
I have never been able to do that, and I've always wanted to, so that was exciting. And it's incredible to go see how elaborate the system was underground.
Yeah.
And just envision what it would have been like to lay family members to rest under there, or to go in there to pray or worship,
Right.
or it was incredible. We did sing
Yeah.
down there also.
Yeah.
So the acoustics were amazing.
Yeah, and there was a couple of, I don't know, 3 or 4 people that were not with our group that went through with us as the group, and it's always fun to watch people's faces when we sing, and they're like, "Wow, that was neat." And I think there was a wedding going on at that church building
I
that
saw
night.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were going to get married in the catacombs.
Now, I don't know that I could do that.
I don't think so either.
And that-
Underground.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of weird,
In
but
a place of tombs.
different strokes, right? What made you think they were
Is this a
going
wedding or a
underground to do that
funeral?
and not in the church building?
Well, because they were gathering all their wedding party and they were standing at the entrance to the
Okay.
catacombs, and then you could see over across the street was where they had their um, reception and stuff
Yeah.
set up.
Yeah.
So it seemed like they were having the ceremony in the catacombs
Okay.
because they say there's a little chapel area.
Well, that would be
In the
one place you could
catacombs.
say probably that you're the only one of your friends that has ever gotten married in the catacombs.
Is
It
this
is
wedding
a
or
little,
funeral?
yeah, it is a little claustrophobic. And one of our group was, and I get that way. I mean, you know me, I can't do the Hezekiah's Tunnel.
Yeah, I was surprised you did it.
Well, the first time I thought, and I asked, can I get out quickly? And they said, yeah, you can get out pretty quickly. And I just bit the bullet and did it. And if there's no one in front of me, I feel better, like I can just keep going. Although that place, you have to know where you're going because there's
Yes,
little
a little
tunnels
bit of
that
a
go
maze.
off. And
Do you remember how many miles they said those catacombs
don't remember.
spread? It seems like it was a lot.
yeah, it goes way beyond. I mean, it's all
we
underground.
just toured a tiny little bit of
Right.
it.
Yeah, and they've built like I said, where you mentioned we sang was a chapel that they've recently built. I mean, recent here can be 200 years old, but um, that was interesting. I just the thought of what actually was there is it's scary on the one hand, but it's also interesting to me.
Yeah.
So that was Saturday. We did that, and we had dinner. I love that dinner.
Yes.
I mean, it's probably not the best Italian food, but
It's the experience.
yeah,
also.
it's a neat restaurant. It's called Tavern Capranica, and we usually have our farewell dinners here at the Capranica. So it felt like we were ending the tour on the second day. It was so strange, but they bring an appetizer course of lasagna, which to me is the main course.
That was strange.
Yeah, and the first time we ate there, it's like it was one plate of lasagna, and I thought, is there a
Well,
salad?
One plain plate
Mhm.
with a square of lasagna in the middle, nothing else.
Yeah.
So it makes it seem like
This is
well,
it.
This is
Yeah.
interesting. Where's
Yeah.
my salad? Where's my
Mhm. Yeah, and then they bring you another plate that has a big serving of grilled salmon and a salad and
greens.
bread and
Mhm.
we had potatoes. We had potatoes one time, and then panna cotta. No, tiramisu there.
Tiramisu.
Yeah, and it was good.
Mhm.
They bring it. It looks like a little half mason jar, and oh, it's good stuff.
Very good.
Yeah. So then we walked back to the bus. I don't know how many steps did we. Those first couple of days, I feel like we got over 20,000 steps.
Yeah, probably about 100 million.
Yeah. We burned a lot of calories that day. We, by the way, have made a pact that we are not talking about calories or how much we eat, or we have just decided we're going to enjoy the
Let's just
experience.
say I feel safe to say we are earning our gelato. With all
Some
the
days,
walking.
some days I feel like I have not.
Yeah.
But
Today will be one of those days.
let's not break the pact here.
That's right.
Anna.
No pact.
Yeah, we're doing fine. It's going to be all right. We get home, we'll worry about it when we
We're
get home.
having 6 desserts every day. That doesn't matter.
No. Plenty of carbs. We're fueling our bodies. Anyway, forget that.
Anyways, where were we?
Okay.
Sunday. Let's do Sunday.
Sunday. That was fun. That was, and not just fun, it was great. It was, we met with the church in Rome. And I don't know, how many people do you think were there that were
I
members?
couldn't really see them because I was in the very back row and off to the left. So I
Yeah.
couldn't actually see anything going on up
I
front.
bet there was 30 people
Of their
of their members in the room behind us.
Okay.
And so Wayne Jones preached, and there was a translator. It was an American man, but his family, I think he said he'd grown up there at some point. Do you remember any of the details? His dad was a missionary in Rome, in Italy, I guess in Rome, when he graduated from, I remember him saying he graduated from Italian high school. But he had been back in the States, I want to say in Ohio, and they were there. I don't know if they were living there, if they happened to be visiting, but so he translated for Wayne, and we sang songs. While they sang in Italian, we sang in English, and some songs we sang just in English, some songs they sang just in Italian, and that was a highlight of the trip for me, because I'd
That was
never been there before.
wonderful. That was great. I think it was the highlight of the trip for a lot of our group.
Yeah. So altogether, there was probably 90 people because we had 56 along with theirs, and it was packed into it's kind of a long and narrow room, and that was a great time. But we had to jump on the bus and get to the ship by 1 o'clock. So it was about an hour drive, and that was a zoo trying to get on the ship. And I've done it once before, and I remember it being a little hectic. But yeah, everyone's trying to get on.
It feels just like an airport terminal.
Yeah.
You walk through security, scan your stuff. They, pass you down these different lanes where you show your ID or whatever you have to do, and then you board the ship.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Was your room ready when you got on? Because sometimes they say your room's not ready, and you have to just kind of hang out. Ours was too, but our luggage was not there right away.
No. But I'd read ahead of time that might be the case, that you want to carry things on your carry-on, and then before the day is over, at some point your luggage will arrive.
Right.
So
Yeah. And it
I was
didn't take
prepared
long.
for that. Another thing that was unexpected was I had been told that the cabins are really tight, and so I'd ordered the magnetic hooks for the walls because I was reading keep everything up off the floor in your little counter space because there is hardly any counter space, and hang everything up on the wall. And so I was expecting to feel like really tight, but there's tons of storage in these rooms, and there's bathroom counter space, there's cabinets. We have storage and cabinets in our room that we're not even using.
Yeah.
So that was a nice surprise. It was much bigger than I expected.
Yeah, very well planned. Because the beds are a little higher, so you can slide your suitcases underneath, and then
our dirty clothes bag is under there.
is that where we have a drawer for that, which is very full, by the way. And then the cabinets over the bed that open up.
We haven't even used those.
Yeah, I put my carry-on up there. So yeah, they are very well designed. I haven't felt cramped at all.
No, me neither.
I can imagine how more than 2 people in the room would be
Yes.
crowded. And there's a few people that have 3 to a room here, but
Yes.
yeah, it's a very well designed. So Sunday, that was the end of, we had dinner together, and the one thing in the dining room, in the main dining, so we are sitting at a table together along with Lance and Robin Riddick and Hiram and Brittany Kemp, but we don't switch around. And part of that is fun because I like knowing that you're going to be there, but I feel like we could get to know the other people a little better if we switched around. So you can go to the other dining room that has the buffet. There's a kid screeching in the background. That's pleasant. Happens. It's called the Windjammer. So you can go through the buffet, and there's more food than you can. It's almost embarrassing how much food there is. You can get whatever you want.
At this point in the trip, I've kind of gotten to the point where I get up and I'm thinking, I don't want breakfast.
Yeah.
I feel like I just ate.
Yeah. We haven't been doing breakfast. We'll get coffee, and maybe John will go get a muffin, or I've just kind of been waiting for lunchtime.
Yeah.
But,
I did that yesterday. And yeah, you have the dining room if you want something more formal. It'll take about 2 hours from start to finish by the time they bring out all the different courses.
Kind of an event.
Yeah, or the Windjammer, as you say, is buffet, and it moves a lot quicker. There are tons of buffet lines.
Yeah.
So
And a lot of them have the same thing.
Same thing.
So
A lot of
there'll be like
different
2
drink
lines of the
stations.
same food, so more people can go through.
Yeah, but then there's also a bunch of little places. Like there's a little pizza place, there's a little Mexican place, there's a little bakery kind of place. So you can still meet different people in the group.
Right.
And
And we've been meeting at the back of the ship behind the buffet to play cards in the evenings, and that's been fun too.
Yeah.
So eventually, by the end of this coming week, I feel like we'll know everyone because we're trying to get to know everyone.
yeah.
It's challenging with 56 people.
I almost pulled a Tammy Roberts the other day when we were coming back from Athens. It was at the end of the day. We were all on the bus. We had just sung a couple of songs. And I almost stood up and yelled out, I love everybody on this bus. I chickened out.
That's something she would do.
Yeah, she did that. We had Higher Ground Camp, Bible Camp for teen
Yeah.
girls.
That sounds like
And
something
she
she did.
started that and did it every single year. She would just randomly, in the middle of who knows what, stand up and yell out, I love everybody at this camp. And then we would all hug each other, and stuff like that. I almost did that on the bus, and I chickened out.
I challenge you to do it.
Well, I told Neil about it. I said, I almost pulled a Tammy Roberts, and I told him what I almost did. And he just kind of looked at me and said, it's probably better that you didn't. I was like, well, that's one way to make sure I never ever get my courage up and do
Yeah.
it on this trip. No.
Make him do it.
But I'll be thinking it.
Yeah, I'll think it with you.
Yes.
Yeah. So that goes through Sunday. Monday we went to Pompeii,
Yes.
to Naples, which that's the port. It's the port of Naples, or Napoli.
Napoli.
And we went through the ruins of Pompeii, and it's enormous.
Yes.
Did you look at the map? I mean, there's a map this size, and it's, goes to the edges, and we covered like this
Tiny
much of it.
little portion
Yeah,
of it.
teeny tiny little portion. And there are things there that are very, it's not good stuff. And we always tell the guys we'd prefer not to go
Skip
through
all
that.
that.
Skip that.
There's a red light district in Pompeii.
Yeah, oh, there's a lot of that in there, but there's a lot to see without having to go through that. And interesting things like I didn't hear this. Shana Kay told me this, that those round stepping stones through the streets, and they talked about how when the rain would wash the trash and the sewage and stuff that way out through the streets, and you didn't have to step into the street. You could just go from stepping stone to stepping stone. So the streets are like, I don't know, 12 inches or so off of the sidewalk, and they would be big round pylon-looking things, stepping stones, so you could step over the street to get from one side to the other. But she told me that their guide, the last time they were there, told them that most carts and chariots couldn't fit over those stepping stones. So if you came to Pompeii to buy something, you would have to rent their cart. So it was a way of making, money or
Yeah,
taxing
I do
or whatever.
remember hearing
Yeah.
that.
So that was something kind of interesting.
One little interesting tidbit that was probably also Shana Kay sharing it was that the sidewalks in Pompeii and leading down the road all the way down to the fishing port at the time had those marble squares, or they really looked like half shells made out of marble set here and there, and that was very practical. It was so that at night sailors coming back, the moonlight would hit the marble and light it up,
Okay.
so they could see their pathway
Yeah.
back home.
Interesting. I hadn't heard that. They had been there once, like before. Well, she and Wayne and David and Tina, I think, had been there with a private guide. So I know it's a lot easier to listen when it's a smaller
Yes.
group. I didn't realize until this time that they didn't die of lava flow. It was ash that suffocated them, and it must have been really, really fast. And the weight of the ash. That's why people were found in the position, a lot of them just like head down with their arms out, and because they were suffocated by this heavy ash. So that was interesting.
Yeah, and it seems like several places we've been have experienced volcanic activity or earthquake activity, and that they're all currently active.
Yeah, where we are, right here.
Here we are.
Yeah. And then we had, this is really dumb, but I've been looking forward to this for 5 years, because we were here 5 years ago, and there's a pizza place right outside Pompeii, wood-fired pizza oven, and the pizza in Naples is the twisty crust. I can't think of the word. It's soft, chewy. That's the word I'm trying to think of. Chewy crust, and it's kind of floppy and soft, and it's just so good.
Originates in Naples.
Yeah, Napoletano pizza. So I was excited to get through Pompeii so we could go to the pizza place. That's how my brain works. That's the shallow
maybe I
side
know
of
that.
me. Yeah, it was good. So we did Pompeii that morning. Did we do something that afternoon? We drove through Naples,
Spent
and
some time in Naples.
yeah, on the bus, and we were nearly late back to the ship, and that was the most
also panicky.
stressful part of the trip.
We were
And
almost dock runners.
yeah. Oh no, I didn't like that at all, and I felt so bad because it was the very first excursion off the ship, and I know people were really stressed. We weren't like right under the nose, but
Yeah, just got back a little later.
45 minutes before because I always want to call it the gangplank, but it's the gangway. Gangplank is on a pirate ship. Gangway was supposed to be up at 4, and I remember looking at my watch at 3:30, still on the bus. And the guide we had that day was just so nonchalant, and he was like, "It's a 5-minute
it's just
drive,"
5 minutes, nothing to worry
and
about.
we could see the ship
Get some
from the road.
coffee.
Yeah.
Get some espresso and
Speaker would have had a
pastry.
cow. Our guide in Israel never wants us to let everyone go do their own thing. And this was at 3 o'clock. He said, "Go get here's a great place to get coffee and a pastry." He must have had pastry. A pastry. He must have had a deal with that shop owner to
And
send
John's
everybody
going,
there.
Shouldn't we be going?
Yeah.
Shouldn't we be getting back on the bus?
Yeah.
No, we're good.
I'm pretty sure my blood pressure was not good that day because everyone's scattering, and I'm thinking we're supposed to be like back on the ship in less than an hour, and we're still in this square in
Well,
Naples.
and have some in the group that can't move very
Right,
fast.
yeah.
So it's not like you can book it once
Right.
you get off.
Yeah, and we still had to walk back to the bus. And it was 5 minutes from the ship, but the streets are like this, and it was traffic time, and
We could have walked faster probably.
well, and a lot of us were like, "Can we just get off and
Get off
walk?"
here.
But they could, but not everyone could have done it. So anyway, thankfully we made it back.
It worked out.
Yeah, we're here, so it worked out. But we have been like, we're not going to allow this to happen again. And when John and I talk about time schedules, and he's the one that always makes the schedule, and I look at it and I'm like, he'll have something up till 3 o'clock, and we're supposed to be back on at 4. I'm like, oh, that's just too close for me. Too many ifs and possibilities. So I prefer to, at least have an hour and a half. But anyway,
Right.
we did it. We got back on, and everyone
And
was relieved.
Where was that?
That was Monday.
Naples. And then the next trip was
We were at sea on Tuesday, and that was nice. It was kind of a chill day. We played cards and
Yeah.
walked around, and we had El Loco tacos that day, I remember.
That's right.
And Wednesday was Turkey, Ephesus, yeah. So talk about that, because that was not at all what we
I'm starting
expected.
to have voice issues, and I'm
It's okay.
very
Cough it
self-conscious
out.
that Brian Ketchum's fancy specialty mic is right here,
Right next to your throat.
picking up everything. So Turkey was a surprise for me. I don't know what I expected, but it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful country. One unusual note is that there are cats and dogs everywhere.
Yeah, I forgot about
What?
that.
What is that
Just
all
laying
about?
right in the middle of the road.
They're all the same kind of dog.
Mm-hmm.
Big, almost
Lab.
lab / German Shepherd
Mm-hmm.
kind of dogs because they have the pointy ears.
And they are well fed.
Yeah, and cats. So wherever you go, even on the ancient sites.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but we were walking up the Agora in Ephesus, and there was a cat on one of the pillars, and somebody had sprinkled cat food. Did you see that?
No.
There was cat food sprinkled on the pillar
Where he was laying.
where the cat was laying, and the cat was just sitting there eating it. So
Okay.
I don't know what that's all about, but anyway, Turkey is a really beautiful country, and Ephesus itself is magnificent
Yeah.
with the humongous, so sorry, amphitheater, which they still use,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And they said it seated. Do you remember? Was
40,000?
I was going to say 50,000, but yeah, 40,000 people.
It was like 3 layers. I don't know,
different
3.
layers.
I don't
So-
think layers is the right word, but you know what
Based
I
on
mean.
importance.
Yeah.
So the women were at the very top because they were the least important.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the Library of
Celsus, yeah.
which was magnificent with its very tall columns, impressive just to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Neil and I were trying to take a selfie, and this random stranger just walked up and stuck his head right in
Yeah.
our picture. So there he is. And to me, the most interesting thing that we went through was the terraced houses.
Yeah.
Because it really gives you a glimpse of when you read about the Christians meeting in homes, or thank this brother or sister for having the saints in their home. Paul would write in his letters. I don't know what I pictured, but it wasn't what we saw.
Right.
I think I pictured something a little more brown and square and small, more hut-like or something. I don't know, but these houses were very grand.
Right.
Lots of beautiful design. You could still see some frescoes. You could still see the mosaics. There was lots of color. Very open. Plenty of room to to house
Right.
a church for worship.
Mhm.
So,
If you Google terraced housing in Ephesus, you can look and see pictures because it's amazing.
and the reason it's called that is because they build one house on top of the other.
Mhm.
And so we walked up and up and up and up, and you got to see all the different rooms. And that just completely changed my perspective and how
Yeah.
I'll go back and read next time I read those things. Picture that a little bit differently.
It was hill country too. Like it reminded me of our home in Dripping Springs, just very hilly and like cedar, pine, evergreen trees, and it was the landscape was nothing like I expected it to be. But when he talked about, is it Acts 19, where they are pushed into the theater? Is it they're pushed into the theater? Anyway, they are in the theater when they're for 2 hours shouting,
The
"Great
riots.
is Artemis of the Ephesians," for 2 hours over and over. And one of the Neil or John said that part of that theater was covered, and so you can just imagine the reverberation while they were shouting that they were like trying to shout over the Jews trying to give a defense and for Jesus. So it was it changed the way I looked at it.
Me
I was
too.
so glad that we got to go there.
Me too.
There was
And
something
then we
else.
visited the rug place, the
Oh, yeah.
Aladdin House of Rugs.
Yeah.
Aladdin's House of Rugs.
Mhm.
That was so fascinating.
was.
I kind of wasn't looking forward to that
No.
because I heard that we were going to be served this little snack at this carpet place, and I figured it was just a big sales pitch,
Mhm.
and it was.
Yeah.
But they also showed us silkworm cocoons, and they shook it. You could still hear that there was a worm rattling around in there. The whole process of how they extract the silk
Yeah.
was fascinating, and then the rugs, to die for.
No.
Absolutely
I
beautiful.
didn't know I wanted
and
one until
I
we went.
didn't either, and they have such a fabulous presentation, and they unroll those things in a very theatrical kind of
Yes.
way with a lot of flourish, and
Yeah.
then some of them they can pick up and spin around.
Yeah.
And then
With one
some of
hand.
them with one hand, and then some of them they would show it looking one way, one color, and then they would fold it in half and turn,
Yeah.
lay it out again, and it looked different.
Right.
And they called them their magic carpets.
Mhm.
But the whole thing was amazing, and I was just drooling all over those silk
Yeah.
Turkish rugs.
$50,000 Turkish rugs.
50,000. Well, and they explained it takes
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
months or years, depending on the
Both,
size
yeah.
and pattern and colors
Yeah.
to make those things.
Did you go up to the one that they said won the
Yeah.
rug, and the intricacy is just insane.
Yes,
It was beautiful.
But a few of our group did make purchases, and the little snack was more like a full meal.
Yes.
It was really good.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was very interesting.
Do you know how to say? Is it mezes? Mezes?
I don't know how to say
It's
that
like
word.
Turkish
M-E-Z-Z.
appetizers, kind of like antipasti, or as we say in American, appetizers.
Well, my favorite was they had these two long rolled up. They were some kind of flaky crust, almost like phyllo dough, and
Yeah.
there was some kind of cheesy something inside. And they
Kinda
were
like a
rolled
crab
up and
rangoon.
crispy and
Yeah, that was good. That's my
that-
favorite part.
That was delicious.
Was that
And they had
beef, do you
Turkish
think?
meatballs. I think it was lamb.
It didn't taste different. It tasted like beef, but I haven't had lamb too much to know.
Yeah, they called them meatballs, but they weren't really round. They were more oval shaped.
Yeah.
And then there was some
Meat
tomatoes
ovals.
and something wrapped up in some kind of green leaf thing with rice in it.
Dolma,
and-
I think is what those are called.
Yeah, so that was really good. It
Yeah.
was very interesting. But I was so surprised. I'm glad we're going back to Turkey
Tomorrow.
tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. And the colors.
Yeah.
Just the colors of everything all around and all the shops, the things that they had for sale. I loved all the colors. I was just really drawn to it and very surprised by
Yeah,
that.
yeah, me too. Well, back to the rug demonstration. There was a time we went in Israel to an olive oil demonstration place, and
Done that with you.
yeah, you were there that time. So
2018.
how did you feel about that? Because I remember feeling like we were shoved into this room, the door shut, we had to watch this video, and then it just felt like this super
didn't-
high pressure.
yeah, I didn't
That's
care for
probably
that
why
one as
both of
much.
us were not looking forward to it, because it felt like it was going to be like that. But this was not. It was just, it was almost like an educational, demonstrational.
That's how I felt. You know how you can book those excursions called a taste of Turkey or a taste of Crete or things like that? It felt like that to me. Like, this is a big part of our history and our culture, and here's how it works.
And the guy that was kind of in charge of it had no accent. I think he was
very,
raised in the States.
Yeah, he was very American.
Yeah, so he was very easy to understand.
But then
and
he'd turn around and speak to all of his workers in
Turkish,
Turkish
the Turkey language.
and whatever they
Oh,
speak.
and it's not Turkey anymore. It's Turkiya.
Turkiya. Yeah, they
Turkiya.
changed. They officially changed the name. He said in 20
Yeah,
or last year. When
because
was that?
turkey is an animal or a bird, and they didn't want to be known as a bird anymore, something like that.
After how many years?
Yeah, yeah. So it's Turkiya.
Turkiya.
Yeah, so that was Monday. We did a little bit of shopping at the port, got back on the ship, and now we have a
Yeah.
quartet
Big
of.
group of. I think they're leaving.
Okay. Oh, good. Yeah, they must have been meeting here. So that was
They were
Monday.
very loud.
No, that was not Monday. That was Wednesday.
Whatever day that was, the next day was Athens.
Yeah.
Right? So go ahead.
Okay, got to get my mind on Athens now.
Well, it was very crowded, for one
Yeah.
thing. We started making our way up to the
Acropolis.
Acropolis, which our guide explained is what the whole area is called. And then the
The Parthenon
Parthenon
is the
is the
temple.
big temple that you might be picturing in your mind when you think of Athens, Greece. That was separate on top of the Acropolis.
Yeah, it was. That's right. It was so
Very
crowded.
and they had us going up in lines.
Because the
Zigzagging
reason
our
why
way
is
up.
because they shut down an exit, so everyone was entering and exiting through the same stairway, and so yeah, it was. It's interesting that they've always, and it's always going to be this way. They've always got scaffolding around part of the Parthenon, so you can't really see. The best view we got of it was once we were down in the museum looking up at it, but we always have to divide into two groups because 56 is too many in one group, and you're wearing the earpiece. That was a difficult one because it like fit around your
Like
ear.
over your,
Yeah,
ear.
and if you have an earring, it's not going to work too well. But we went up on the Acropolis and looked around for half an hour. No, we were there maybe an hour or so.
Yeah, we had at least 20 minutes free time.
Yeah.
And then there was the tour part.
Yeah. Then we went down and we met Dino Russo.
No, but wait.
Oh, sorry.
So on top of the Acropolis, there's the humongous temple, and it has 17 columns down the long side, and those columns are massively tall. And so the goddess Athena, no, that's
Diana?
Or
No,
was that-
Diana is that's Artemis in Ephesus.
so it is Athena.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Athens, dur.
Too many mythical gods and goddesses
We've
to
been hearing
remember.
all kinds of things. She would have been this huge statue inside of the temple, but she's no longer there.
Yeah.
But they also had Erechtheion, which has 6 female statues.
The Caryatids.
Caryatids, yeah, and I thought that building was impressive also. And then there was a smaller temple to the emperor, so that was the only Roman feature on there. So there's really lots to see up there. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I think it's interesting too that temple was there for 500 years before Paul
Before
was there.
Paul got there, so
Yeah.
it was already
Yeah,
almost
like
ancient history. when
5th
he
century BC. And I also thought, this is just a side note too, but did you ever think that some of the gold that you have on some of your jewelry may have come from these places? Because, you know, they
right.
stripped it all down and it's been sold and traded and all that. And so
Melted
who
down
knows?
and-
You may be wearing a piece of that Athena statue on
Right
you.
here.
Yeah. Anyway,
Well, another thing, there's a wall, sort of a rock wall all the way around the Acropolis. And she never mentioned, our guide never mentioned anything about
kind of
that.
like a retaining wall.
It looks like it.
Yeah.
And it's really tall. It kind of looks like some of the ones that we would
Yeah.
see in Israel. Neil asked the guide about it as we were leaving and about the date of it. And she said some of it would have gone back to 1,000 years
Oh, wow.
before first century.
I hope they check the structural integrity
and
of that.
Well, and that
every
what
year.
they said was it's actually the most well preserved because every time a new whoever came in to change and do everything, they always shored up that wall
Yeah.
because it would have been protection. So that was the most important thing. So everything else on the inside was changing and shifting hands and crumbling or robbed or whatever. But that huge wall was always shored up. That's why it's so well preserved. But it is like 3,000 years old.
Yeah. It's crazy. You know, when we think of things at home in the States when they're 200 or
When they're
300 years
200 years
old, we're
old.
putting them behind glass and fences
Roped off,
and
yeah.
don't touch
No
this.
flash pictures.
Yeah, and yet we're walking all over stuff.
That's
I've always
amazing.
thought that in Israel. It's so
Me
interesting.
too.
But yeah, then we went down, met Dino Russo. He's the owner of a travel agency, but he's also a preacher, a member of the church.
The
And
local preacher.
yeah, and it was a joy to meet him. We've visited with him on the phone before, and I think we're Facebook friends. And but we met him at the foot of Mars Hill, and Mars Hill.
Areopagus, as
Yeah,
our
yeah.
guide was saying.
I wonder how they said it back then. Areopagus, Mars Hill. Let's just call it Mars Hill. It's not at all the first time I saw what I thought. You know, you think it, and I'm sure it didn't look anything then like it looks now, but it's just a pile of rocks. And you can you can walk around on it, but it's very, you have to really watch your step because it's rocky and slippery. And did you see that entrance? Had you been
The
here
old
before?
steps.
Have you been in that?
I've never been there
Okay,
before.
so used to you could go up those old steps, and they're slanted, you know, because they've been there for thousands of years.
Well, our guide actually told us we could.
Oh,
She said she wouldn't recommend it because they're not very
it was
safe.
roped off.
She said you can go up this way, but I would recommend you choose the modern steps, which are much safer.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was roped off. It wasn't the last time we were here, and I thought several of our group went that way because it was a challenge. But just that, to me, Mars Hill and the Acropolis was the most helpful in seeing
Same.
this Bible story, Bible account, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Just to imagine Paul standing on Mars Hill, debating, and I even hate using that word. He was reasoning with them. When you look at the definition of that word, he was reasoning with them and talking to them about this God that you call the unknown God. And you can see, I mean, you can just point from Mars Hill up to the Acropolis and that temple that is made with human hands. He said, the God that I worship doesn't live in houses
dwell in a temple.
made with human hands. And you can just see it unfolding before your eyes, and that's one of my favorite places. And so Dino, at the foot of Mars Hill, read that in Greek, or he recited it in Greek. And that was it was really, really neat, but I was really, really looking forward to Neil speaking on Mars Hill, and we just ended up not getting to do that.
I was so bummed for him because he was really looking forward
Yeah.
to giving the little devotional on Mars Hill, but he loved what Dino did. He
Yeah.
said, how can you follow that up anyway? You know, it was perfect.
Well,
and,
Neil
and
could.
He knows the area, and the way he spoke, you know, it was just perfect for the occasion. But what we did do is we went up on top of Mars Hill, and I said, give me a little snippet of your devotional. So I recorded him doing like a little talk, very short, minute long kind of thing. But you can see from him standing there, the Acropolis and the huge temple. And like you say, that was the most impactful moment for me because I knew it took courage, but it took so much courage because that type of pagan idolatry and culture is their life. It's the whole world of Athens. You can't go anywhere in Athens without seeing the temple on the hill to Athena. And for Paul to stand up to that as such a huge minority, and we've been hearing all along on this journey about Pax Romana and the peace and how they didn't want people coming in stirring up trouble, which is exactly what they thought Christians were doing, and teaching about the one true living God and not all of these gods. It really did take a tremendous amount of courage, and to stand there and see this is what he would have pointed to, and this is what he said. You know, let me tell you about this unknown God.
It's just one of those places that
Gives you
makes Paul's life come alive before your eyes. And, you know, riding through Acts like we did a few years ago and seeing how whenever he would go into a new town, he would immediately go into the synagogue. And, you know, he was going there to meet people, to introduce them to God and tell them about the gospel. And I loved seeing that and just imagining him pointing up and saying, the God that I worship does not dwell in houses made with human hands. It's just amazing. I love that. So
We've learned a lot of little tidbits like that on this trip. We keep seeing sculptures of Nike, the goddess of
or
victory.
Nikki, as they keep saying. Have you heard them say Nikki?
Yeah, Nikki. And John pointed out that she's always holding that wreath, that crown of leaves, and that it was a crown of victory.
Is that the Stephanos crown?
Yes, which is what we read about in Revelation 2:10. Be faithful unto death, and I'll give you the crown of life. And how that's not a royal ruling authority crown; it's that crown of victory. And for them to use that kind of language, this Nike or whatever goddess was all over the place. Her image is everywhere you go, in every scene. It seems like she crops up.
Was she the one in the museum that they had rows and rows of the little friezes that had Nike, like Nike
She was-
walking up a staircase, Nike doing this or that? It was
Yeah, she was there. She was in Ephesus. She was in Rome.
Yeah.
Even on was it Titus, the Arch of Titus?
Oh, I didn't know.
That whole victory
Yeah.
scene.
Uh-huh.
There's a chariot at the end, and there's Nike with her crown, her wreath crown right there. So it seems like everywhere we went, she's
Yeah.
been there.
I didn't put that together.
It just makes it so much richer to understand what they're saying in contradiction of the culture and what they believed. Whereas when we read it, we go, "Oh, crown of life."
Yeah, yeah. Things that may have been much more life-altering or impactful to them. Like you say, we just kind of gloss over.
Right.
So, yeah, good deal.
Yeah. Okay. So, what was that?
That was
Athens.
Wednesday in Athens,
And
and we went to the
then-
museum, and they have the actual, some of the actual, what's it called, just below the, when you look up at the the Parthenon, and they've taken down all of they were marble. It's
The
not a frieze.
inscriptions. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the name.
Yeah, those were interesting. So huge. They don't look all that big when you're looking up at them, but they've put some of them in the museum there in Athens, and a lot of them are in the BM, the British Museum, and they're not coming back. I think they want them back. They have the caryatids there, except for one, the best preserved one the British Museum took.
Yeah, they said, our guide said they're in negotiation with them about
Yeah.
trying to get it back.
Yeah, our guide said it'll probably never come back. And they, once possession
so you
is
had the
nice.
pessimist guide.
I
we
did.
had the optimist guide.
Yeah. So anyway, we went to the museum. We had free time for lunch, and then we didn't do anything else in Athens. We got back on the ship Wednesday night. Thursday was yesterday, and we were in
Santorini.
This is Saturday.
Sorry, yesterday was right.
Athens,
Thursday was
Ephesus, Athens. Yesterday was Santorini. Did we miss something?
No, Athens
Okay,
was the
Monday
day
was
before
Pompeii. Tuesday was a day at sea. Wednesday was Athens. Thursday was
Wednesday was Ephesus.
Ephesus, then Athens. Then yesterday was
Santorini.
Santorini. Yeah. So what you think of Santorini?
Oh, it was gorgeous. It was. The Greek Isles has been on my bucket list for decades. So I was just giddy.
Put on your
with
big sunglasses like
just-
Jacqueline Onassis.
Oh man, I felt like it. It was, let me tell you this. There's a lot of steps.
Yeah.
And I've been
And you
huffing
wore
and puffing
sandals.
all up and down these steps all day long. And at the end of the day, Neil and I got on this. It was free time, so everybody kind of did
Yeah.
their own thing.
Day on your own.
So Neil and I got on this boat, and we're going to see this active volcano and hot springs and stuff like that. And I plopped on my seat on that boat because my face was red and my hair was sticking in the back of my neck, and I was so hot and sweaty. My feet were killing me, and I just plopped down, and I was like, and I'm just sitting there, and this girl walks up the steps to get on this boat.
Was her hair blowing in the wind?
It looked like she had just walked out of the salon with the perfect silky blowout, and she is wearing this sort of cool-looking ice blue cotton short
Yeah.
dress, and she smells like strawberries,
Yeah.
and she just walks in, she sits down, she's got her little gold necklace on, she sits down all gracefully, and I'm going, just looking at her.
That's
you
how I
know.
felt the whole trip.
I look at Neil and I was like, I feel like this is one of those memes, you know, where you've got this is what I think I'm going to look like on
Yeah.
Santorini.
What I actually look like.
This is what I smell like a donkey.
No, you didn't smell like a donkey.
Well, it did smell like a donkey at times because you could walk up. They say it's
86 steps.
six
yeah.
steps, but that's the actual
Wide
step.
steps.
There are actually wide spaces between the steps that you're walking and then going up and walking, and so it's quite a little hike. And but it's absolutely beautiful, and you start out at Fira, and there's lots of little shops and an old church to the Saint of Sailors,
Yeah.
Nicholas.
I didn't
think
hear.
is
Oh,
his-
St. Nicholas, that's right.
Saint Nicholas, not the Santa Claus, but the saint to protect sailors. And you can walk around there. You can take a bus to Oya, which is the place that has what you might picture in your mind when you think of Santorini, the white cliff houses with the blue domes.
Yeah.
And I could have spent the entire day there.
Yeah.
It's all these little cobblestone
Alleyways.
between these gorgeous homes with their little courtyards and their bougainvillea, or however you say that, of all different colors, and little shops with the fabrics and the pottery. And we found a lunch place there overlooking the sea. But pretty much everywhere you go is going to be overlooking the
Yeah.
sea because it's an island. And we were right on the edge and ordered some sparkling water and something to eat. And I remember just sitting there thinking, wow, I can't believe I'm here. And it was just gorgeous. It was just stunning. So
Yeah.
it was a beautiful day. Can check that off my bucket list
Yep.
finally. It was one, and I thought, I love all the colors. You know, that the sky was perfectly blue, just like you see in all the pictures. We were given the tip, wear white when you go to Santorini because it makes for better photographs. The white houses, the blue domes, the colorful flowers,
Yeah.
the blue sea, the blue sky, and then across the way, some of the other islands are active volcanoes, and it was that really dark, black volcanic rock.
All the colors were just very
Vivid.
vivid. Yeah, that's a good
Yes.
word for it.
Yeah. How was your day? You did something different, I think.
Yeah,
than
well,
we
we just kind of got up when we wanted to, and it was nice. We didn't have any plans, and we ended up, we kind of walked through here on our way out, and we ran into Hiram and Brittany, and we got on, we had to tender across, just take a little boat across from the ship to the shore. And if you said this, sorry, there was people walking by that distracted me. There's I know you said the steps, but it's like a snake path to get to the top of those 586 steps. So you can either walk them, or you can take a donkey up that snake
I
path.
feel so sorry for those donkeys.
Yeah, they looked a little sad.
Well, what a grueling job.
Yeah. Robin got smushed between, not smushed, but her knee got
She
kind
said
of,
the donkey smushed her knee up against the wall.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she was limping last night. So you can walk it, you can take a donkey up, or you can take the cable car up. But I mean, all there is at the foot of the mountain is just a little teeny tiny,
Well, port.
it has a couple shops and,
Some drinks.
so
But
we,
then this huge rock, sheer rock cliff, and then the white towns at the top. So,
that.
So the only, as you're saying, there's only, you have
When you
to get to the top.
when you
yeah.
picture Santorini in your mind, you're seeing the top of the mountain, and you have to get up there. So we kind of walked around there, and once we got across, decided I just didn't want to do the donkey.
Oh, I didn't want to do the donkey.
And I've had
First of all, I was in a skirt.
Yeah, well, I've had a sore knee, and I don't mind going upstairs, but I just thought that would ruin me if I did that. So we ended up taking a boat from that little port area to the other side of the island, and then a bus picked us up and took us to Oya at the top. And so we ended up, we didn't intend to, but we ended up spending the day, not that we're glad we did, spending the day with Brittany and Hiram, and we ran into Brian and Shannon. Brian and Shannon did the walk from Fira to Oya, which was 6 miles. But they're 30, so they
Yeah,
can
we
do
rode
that
the
kind of
bus
thing.
from
Yeah, we
Fira
rode
to
the bus. We rode a boat and the bus.
Yeah.
And so we had dinner, lunch with Hiram and Brittany, and then we met up with Brian and Shannon. We just walked the streets and saw some of the shops. And we took, after we finished there, somebody told us that if you want to shop in Oya, the same things in Fira are like half the price. So, you can imagine at the very top where all of the tourists are, that's going to cost
Yeah.
more. And that was true. I didn't buy anything yesterday,
I didn't either.
but we took the bus from Oya back down to Fira, and we got gelato and walked around there a little bit, and then Brittany and I took the cable car down. John and Hiram and Brian and Shannon walked down the stairs, and they were all like their legs were quivering when they got to the bottom.
Yes, my legs were quivering for sure.
Yeah, and you had flip-flops
I had
on.
on flip flops. I walked up and down, up, and then at the end of the day, back down.
Yeah, and I used to do flip-flops all day, every day, but I've had to. Good morning.
Morning.
I've had to kind of change my footwear just because of arch support and all that.
Mhm.
So flip-flops are comfortable, but I couldn't do them on a day like yesterday. Anyway, that was kind of a
Well,
fun
and at
day.
dinner last night in the dining hall, they
Mhm.
have different themes, I guess. So
Yeah.
casual night,
Mhm.
formal
Mhm.
nights. Last night was white night,
Mhm.
where and I guess that's in honor of Santorini.
Yeah.
So a lot of people chose to wear white to dinner, and then tonight is sort of a business casual. It's a
Oh.
dress-up night. It's not formal
Mhm.
like tuxedo, but it's dress suits.
Yeah.
that kind of
I did not pack well for this trip. We were here, did the same thing 5 years ago, and I remember several times wearing a jacket. And then we were actually we did a trip this time last year, but it was a month later. I was thinking it was October, but it was actually November. It was a month later, and it was
Oh.
cold in Rome.
Yeah,
We had jackets on.
perfect weather.
Well, I didn't bring enough short sleeve shirts, and so
Have to
I'm
go shopping.
yeah, John not be too pleased with that. I did get this which is wrinkly now and sweaty. Sorry, you're smelling fresh as a daisy here.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
but I don't smell like strawberries
It's
like
a great
that.
color on you.
Thank you,
You look like a strawberry.
thank you. Or raspberry. I think raspberry. We've had this discussion
You're
before.
correcting my colors on the podcast.
Yeah, that's what friends do, right?
Anyways,
Yeah.
so we had dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Then wait, what night are we talking about?
Last night.
Then we went to see a show called The Book, which was, as far as what they did, very impressive. There were lots of special effects
Yeah.
and special
Acrobatics.
feats and lots of good musicians. The drummer was incredible,
Yeah.
but also at the same time slightly weird because I couldn't really understand what was
Yeah.
going on.
No, it's like
What are
art.
we watching here?
Yeah, it's like art. I mean, I'm supposed to understand
Yeah.
something that I'm not really understanding.
Yes.
It was 7 chapters. I got that part.
Yeah. It was
But there were
called
no
The
words.
Book.
There were no words.
Well, the first guy, who I couldn't tell if he was like a ringmaster or a conductor,
Yeah, I don't
kept
know.
saying an adventure in
Yeah.
the beginning.
Okay, I forgot that part.
And he was opening up different books.
Mhm.
And
Well, I mean, it was just a forum to show dancing and acrobatics and musicians, and there was one woman who could stand on, not just stand, she could stand on one hand and her whole body backwards, like her foot could touch her face.
yeah, dangling in front of her. It was crazy.
And I don't know if
Yeah.
she had any bones.
It was impressive enough when she would do that on both
Yeah.
hands, standing up
Right.
and doing that. But then she
Or
would
lift
lift
a
out
hand.
one arm.
I just kept picturing
Here
myself.
I am trying to see
trying
if we
to do
can
that.
get up off the floor without using our hands.
Exactly.
Twisting all different ways.
No. I couldn't do that when I was 4. So
No,
she's
we
just-
were calling
very
her
limber.
the woman without bones.
Yeah. We need to go see her today and see if we can get some tips about getting up off the floor. Now, so for every day now, for the rest of our lives, we're gonna have to be laying on the floor and lift ourselves up without touching with our hands. Not gonna
We
happen
just
today.
want a happy medium between the woman without bones and Sophia Loren.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking if I can get this far over.
Oh, I'd be happy with right here. Yeah. So anyway, that's where we are.
That's where we are, and our guys went to explore Crete.
Mhm.
Actually, last night I told Neil. He thought I was joking, and I was kind of joking just to see how he would react. Do you ever do that?
Yeah.
Say something like you're joking
Uh-huh.
in case they go, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
But I said, "How about tomorrow you go explore Crete, and I stay on the ship?" And I was just thinking it'd be so nice just to kind of decompress,
Mhm.
read a book on the balcony,
Mhm.
something like that.
Yep.
And he just kind of went, "What?"
Yeah. How can you not get off?
Yeah, Yeah, but then when I told you and you said, would you like some company? I was like, then we decided we need to record a podcast.
Well, we
anyway.
really
so
did
then
need
it
to.
became a work day.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you hear John say they've got to
we
work
had to
tomorrow?
work.
Yeah. I was glad that he thought of it
Oh,
that
we
way.
really did too. And we have to do it one more time before we head back. So
Now we've talked about doing this with John and Neil. Are we going to try to do that one with
we
them?
probably should since we told them because now I think they want to do it.
So we'll have to use one of those at sea days
Yeah.
to try to do
We
that,
have
which
a
would be
couple
fun.
back to back
Yeah.
at the end of the week. So
I think it'd be fun.
is there anything else we want to share before we wind this up?
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up?
I don't think so.
All right.
think so.
Well, thank you so much for hanging in there with us. Again, we apologize for the not perfectly ideal environment and for the fact that we're going to have to do this one more time before we get home.
Yeah.
But
And
we
thanks
just-
so much to Brian Ketchum for helping us put this together because
Yeah.
this is
all
his computer
gear.
and these
Fancy
microphones. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I about 20 minutes ago I thought, what if we're not really recording?
Bite your tongue. That'd be terrible.
Hopefully, we haven't just been having a conversation with ourselves.
With people walking by looking at
Yeah.
us like, what are they doing? Yeah, but anyway, we just kind of wanted to share this experience with you all and hope it comes across that way. Your husband was kind of joking with us. Are you guys going to brag that you're on this cruise?
No.
And he was teasing, but at the same time I'm going, ooh, I hope it
No.
doesn't come across that way. We
No.
really just want to share it with everybody and share kind of what we've learned and what we picked up and experienced, especially as a first-time cruiser. I've never done this. It's all new to me.
Yeah.
You're the pro.
Yeah, we've done it once
One
before.
time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, tomorrow we're going to worship together here on the ship in Bodrum or Bodrum. I'm not sure how to say
I don't
it.
know how to
in
say
Turkey.
it either.
In Turkey. And then everyone can do what they want to do. It's a kind of a free day on your own. And then we go to Rhodes, which is also Turkey.
Yes.
Turkey, yeah.
Turkey, yeah.
And then we go to Cyprus. And we have excursions both of those days. And then we have 2 back-to-back at-sea days before we arrive back in Rome. So, yep.
Much more adventures ahead of us.
Yeah, and we
We'll
will.
share all that with you.
Yeah.
But we're not spending as much time on Facebook, but if you have questions about anything or anything you would like to share, we always love to hear from you.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us. Enjoy this conversation with you. I love it when we're together to do it. That's
No, me too.
awesome.
Yeah. Look it up.